think Americans completely ruin my perception of how much money I think I should have. And I know that's a bit of a wild statement, but it's just because basically all of the finance channels I actually watch are American. And I like their content. I'm not saying they're giving out shit advice or anything, because most of the actual principles are just completely sound, just bulletproof advice. But obviously I'm pretty British, and just a lot of the advice doesn't translate particularly well when you live here. Yeah, it's great on a surface level, but when you look a little bit deeper, it does start to fall out of line. I mean, you'll hear people talking about what percentage they're investing, what they're earning at whatever age, what they're doing with their retirement accounts, how much they need to retire, and it all makes complete sense. But if you actually run the numbers, it only really works if you're American. Then you actually try and translate that into living in the UK, and we've got just different salaries, different pensions, different tax-free accounts. I mean, shit, we've got different rules around when you can actually get at the money. The whole fucking system underneath is just completely different. And obviously I do know that. I've not spent the last few years fucking trying to find the 401k button on Trading 212. But I'd never actually sat down and compared the whole thing side by side before. But I was watching a few videos last night and I thought, hang on, let's actually take a look. And weirdly, once I did, I came away thinking two things. One, Americans can get paid a fuck ton of money. And two, investing in the UK isn't actually near as cooked as I thought it was. Because on a surface level, if you compare UK salaries to the US counterparts, it looks really tragic, but some of the shit we've got underneath it is just genuinely good. So I think the problem isn't really listening to American financial advice. Some of those creators are great. I really do enjoy watching the videos, but I think trying to copy and paste it in a completely different country just falls apart. And the most obvious place it falls apart, as I mentioned just, is the salary. Obviously, that's a massive generalisation. I'm not saying that you land at fucking JFK Airport and somebody immediately gives you a contract for a six-figure job, but especially in certain professional careers, the earning potential over there can be just astronomically higher than it is here. I mean, shit, I'm in tech. I know for a fact that people doing the same job as I do over in the US make like 3 times what I do in a year. And yeah, before somebody says it, obviously you've got different costs as well. Healthcare works differently, taxes are different. Like the rent in somewhere like San Francisco is just fucking mental. I'm not saying somebody gets paid twice as much and therefore has just twice as much money left at the end of the month. But the salary difference still matters when the advice is percentage based. Because like I was saying in the last video, I think somewhere around 15 or 20% is a perfectly sensible target if you can sustain it without just making your life fucking miserable. That's roughly how I approach it. But 20% on 35k is obviously completely different to 20% on 100k. And yeah, obviously, congratulations, I've discovered percentages. But once you've paid for all the fixed shit you get coming every month, finding that percentage can also just become way easier as you earn more. Like your council tax doesn't double because you've had a pay rise, and your phone contract doesn't just find out you've been promoted and start charging you 140 quid a month. Although I've either A, given them ideas now, or B, spoken it into existence, so I'm sorry. So if I'm watching an American who's my age talking about the amount they're investing every month, just copying their exact number isn't really a useful target for me. I mean, yeah, shit, the principle's great, but the number isn't. And that's basically the distinction I think gets lost. I mean, I don't think the average bloke in Britain is in danger of accidentally investing 20 grand this year. And I'm pretty sure the average person in the UK gets paid and just half of it immediately fucking vanishes to a Klarna bill. But to be fair, there is technically a way of getting the best of both worlds. Sort of. So I know somebody that's started working for an American company remotely while staying in the UK, which sounds like a dream on paper, right? So American salary, you're in the UK, you've completed capitalism, except he's contracting, so that headline number just isn't comparable with being employed here either. Because of that, he's just missing out on pension contributions, paid holidays, sick pay, and all the other boring shit that you don't really think of. That's just part of a compensation package until somebody stops giving it to you. Like, don't get me wrong, he's on genuinely great money. I'd consider it in the right situation, but it's not free money, is it? He's basically taken on some of the risks that would just sit normally with an employer and just put it on himself. It's good while it's good, but obviously under those circumstances, they can just go, okay, fuck off, we don't need you anymore, see you later. So it's just a different flavour of screwed if it goes wrong, basically. But enough of that. Pensions. This is probably the biggest example of why copying American versions just doesn't really work. So over here, if you're just employed, not contracting, like physically employed, most of us have just got a workplace pension ticking away in the background. So basically whatever you give, your employer gives some. Unless you opt out, it just happens automatically. And that's the bit I've never really counted when I'm thinking about how much I'm investing monthly. Anyway, I'm not going any deeper into that because I fucking refuse to become a pension channel 3 videos in. The important bit is that there's just employer contribution built into the standard system here. That's just how it is. And yeah, I know, America obviously has 401ks, and loads of companies will match what you put in, but that's the important difference, I think. Over here, your employer just has to put something into your workplace pension, and plenty more will just give you more if you're willing to put more in yourself. So it's genuinely worth checking what your work actually offers, because if they'll match higher and you're just not using it, that's just basically part of your compensation that you just left on the table. Free money and all that, which all sounds fucking brilliant, except you're just not allowed to touch it. So for most people, the normal minimum pension age is 55, and that's going up to 57 soon. So long story short, I'm fucked, and I'm going to be retiring at 85 if they just keep moving it. But joking aside, there are exceptions, but like just broadly, if you're young now, the money is disappearing for just a long time, which is fine, like that's what it's for. But this is exactly where it starts mattering when you listen to American Fire content and just try and translate it directly over here. Because like I was saying in the last video, there's no point spending your entire 20s and 30s just saving everything you can just so you can retire at 40 if you've built the whole thing around money that you can't actually access while you're 40. And this is just one of those places that American advice genuinely doesn't translate properly. Obviously, they can't just do whatever they want with a 401k, but they do have more routes for just getting at that retirement money early. Depending on how they do it, they might pay income tax and just, 10% on top? But unfortunately, we just don't have that option over here. Over here, your pension is just generally locked until you're old enough to access it. Trying to pull it out early outside of like actual exceptions isn't just pay a little penalty and just crack on. Which is why if you're trying to retire at 40 over here, you need something else to get you from 40 to that pension age, whatever it is. And that's where we have something called an ISA, and that starts making a lot more sense here. And to be honest, I think this is one of the areas where I think we've got it really fucking good. So at the moment, it is reducing soon, but we have got just a 20k overall ISA allowance every year. So if you're investing inside a stocks and shares ISA, you've just got completely tax-free wrapper around those investments. You can just take money out of here just whenever you want as well, which to be fair is fucking brilliant because now if you're trying to build towards financial independence before that pension age, you've basically got 2 pots doing 2 different jobs. So the ISA covers the gap and your pension just sits there compounding in the background until you're actually allowed to get at it. And this is just another reason the American advice doesn't really translate directly. So the closest comparison they have is something like a Roth IRA, but they're just not the same product. That's got different limits, different eligibility rules, different withdrawal rules. So when somebody in America talks about maxing their Roth or putting however much into their 401k, I just can't take that exact strategy and just swap the $sign for a £, unfortunately. We've already got our own version of the puzzle, and 20k a year is just a fucking massive allowance. I mean, if you're maxing that every single year, fair play. But the average person isn't, mainly because to put 20 grand a year into an ISA, you do unfortunately need to have 20 grand a year spare. And the average salary over here, to put it into perspective, is like 32k, I think. And that's before tax. So once you've paid rent, council tax, energy, food, and everything else, that's just a really fucking big ask. And to be fair, most people's disposable income at this point covers just next to fuck all, but the cost of living being completely screwed is probably its own video at this point. But this is where something I was talking about in the last video did change slightly for me. Because I was saying 15%, 20%, just whatever you can sustainably put away without completely ruining your life is great. And I do still stand by that. But the more I looked at the American advice and the more I properly listened to it, the more I realised that even that percentage isn't really comparing like for like. Because when I say I'm investing 20% right, I'm normally talking about the money I'm deliberately putting away myself. I'm not thinking about my workplace pension or whatever my employer's putting in on top. I just don't mentally include that in that 20%. So 2 people can both say I invest 20% of my salary and actually just be doing completely different things. And that's basically the problem with trying to copy these numbers directly. I mean, yeah, the principle does translate, but the percentage doesn't necessarily. Now, obviously someone's going to say, well, just earn more then. Yeah, fair point. Why didn't I fucking think of that? And to be fair, they are right. There is a limit of how much you can optimise your spending. You can just cancel Netflix, stop buying coffee, just turn every plug socket off before you go to bed and just sit there eating rice in the dark. Yeah, eventually the easiest way to invest substantially more money is to just earn substantially more money. But unfortunately, it's not just attached to some magical fucking switch. That sort of shit takes time. Job hopping takes time. Changing careers can take some people years. And while you're doing all of that, the clock is still moving at exactly the same speed. And then you're back to the thing that we started with, where in some careers the earning potential over there is just astronomically higher. So yeah, just earn more money. Brilliant advice. I am working on it. Anyway, slight tangent, but you Americans probably won't know about this one. So we have a thing called premium bonds. So it's a government-backed savings account that just doesn't pay you interest, like, at all. Instead, they just pay you in free fucking gambling, which is absolutely jokes when you think about it. So I don't need to go rip Fishing Frenzy or just like casino and sit at a roulette table. I can just get hypothetical free spins every month just for having money sat in an account. I mean, technically you're not gambling away your balance, obviously. Nothing happens to the money that's in there. It's just that every pound that's in there just gets a chance into a monthly prize draw. Pretty sure the prizes start at 25 quid all the way up to like £1 million, and there is, I'm pretty sure, £2 million jackpots just every month. So if I ever do win one, I won't tell you, but there will be signs. Content will change from stuff like this to just videos of me playing bumper cars in Tesco car park with 3 McLarens. So joking aside, at the minute the annual prize fund rate is like 3.8%, with odds of, I think, 22,000 to 1 per £1 that you have stored in there per month. But that doesn't mean you're going to earn 3.8% on whatever you've got in there. It's just basically the average rate across all the prizes they pay out. Obviously you could win more, you could win less, you could get absolutely fuck all. But you can hold up to 50k in there, and the prizes are just completely tax-free, which can be quite useful once you've got enough savings that the tax on the interest just starts becoming an issue. So no, it's not really an investment, but if you've hit your ISA cap, it's as good as you're going to get. So you can just park money in here until the ISA limit rolls around. It's fairly quick access for something like an emergency fund as well. And it's free fucking gambling, so automatic massive fan. Anyway, that's basically the point of the entire video. I'm not going to stop watching American finance channels. I like them. Some of those guys produce amazing content. And most of the underlying advice is just completely sound type of shit, like living below your means, just invest consistently, don't inflate your lifestyle every single time you get a pay rise, and just don't shit yourself and sell everything because the market's down something like 4%. All that boring stuff works perfectly, and it's just the specific numbers and the way you implement it that just don't really translate. I mean, shit, their salaries definitely aren't our salaries. So if you're sat here on a normal UK salary watching an American who's your age talking about putting £2,000 a month into investments, I probably wouldn't immediately assume that you're doing something wrong. You might just be an American, which is unfortunately quite difficult for him to fix. And honestly, none of this really changes what I was saying in the last video, right? I'm still going to put money away every month, I'm still going to automate it, and I'm still not going to make myself fucking miserable just to get that percentage slightly higher when I retire. But the difference now is I think I've got a much better idea of what that percentage really means. Because you've got the money I'm investing myself, there's my pension just quietly off on side quests in the background, and then there's what my employer's putting in, and just everything does count together. So if I'm watching an American my age who's putting away 5k, 10k, just a completely different amount of money every month, I don't actually need to sit here in utter fucking despair just wondering what the fuck I'm doing wrong. Because let's be real, right, he's got a different salary, different retirement accounts, different tax rules. He's just playing with a completely different payslip at that point. It's not massively different, just needs translating, I guess. You can just take the good bits, use the stupidly good stuff we've actually got over here, and then just leave it the fuck alone. Because I absolutely just don't want investing to become my whole life. I just want to think about it as little as humanly possible. Go for the typical money comes in, investments out, pension just does whatever the fuck it's doing in the background, and then I can get on with wasting the rest of my money on things that are just significantly less financially responsible. Which, to be fair, is probably the entire point. And none of that's particularly exciting. I mean, nobody's going to make a thumbnail of themselves pointing at their workplace pension on a payslip with their mouth open like that Soy Jack meme. But it works, and to be fair, that's probably a sentence I could have said about 12 minutes ago and saved everybody a lot of time. But I suppose then I wouldn't have got to talk about premium bonds and free government gambling. So it's just swings and roundabouts really, I guess. But I'd say that's the end of the video now. Honestly, if you've enjoyed it, subscribing is free. I've been really cringe and bought a digital display that shows my live subscriber count. So that just sits on my desk now and plays a little animation every time someone subs. And to be honest, the dopamine rush I get off seeing that little animation is absolutely tragic and cringe. But to be fair, it just makes me happy knowing people are enjoying listening to me yap. But yeah, If you somehow listened to me talk about pensions and premium bonds for however long this ends up being, genuinely thank you for watching. Have a good night, fellas. See you later.